Hello, welcome to the self-learning podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 28, Writing Up Qualitative Data. And our topic is Writing Styles. One of the principal expectations from the field worker is not only that he would write up the ethnographic account, but would also write it well. Walcott writes that the readers are twice blessed when an ethnography is not only insightful and of substance, but is also well written. Needless to say, well written and well composed works are read, and the more they are read, the more popular they become. Our biggest defeat is when our fieldwork accounts remain unread, notwithstanding our erudition, because they fail to captivate the attention of readers. My MPhil dissertation supervisor, Professor Krishna Prakash Gupta, taught me that a writer must not forget the reader, and while in the process of producing the text, the writer should critically read whichever chunks he has written by taking up the role of the reader. Whatever an idiosyncratic poem may say about his composition, sometimes patchy, incomprehensible, and obscure, which he thinks he has written for himself, for his own aesthetic fulfillment, cannot be said about fieldwork accounts. The latter are meant for others to be read, understood, and appreciated. We may say that the first draft we write may be for ourselves, but all the subsequent drafts are for our readers. It has been observed that several young students try to emulate the style of writing of some well-known authors. Being an admirer of the writings of a scholar and imitating his or her style of writing are two different things. I have come across many admirers of anthropologists such as Brownies-Law, Malleson Key, Evan Pichards, Margaret Mead, Claude Lévi-Strauss, and Clifford Geertz, and among sociologists, Talcott Parson, Robert K. Merton, M. N. Srinivas, Andre Batley, and Anthony Giddens. Of these admirers, several have tried to emulate the styles of their favorite scholars, but in the end they have not succeeded, as each actor's role performance is different from the others, occupying the same position. In the same way, each author or writer develops his or her own style, which is a product of hard work of several decades and also of several other highly individualistic factors, such as the type and quality of schooling, hobbies, flair of writing and reading, etc. Therefore, my submission is that we should try to develop our own style, keeping in mind that we should be known not to be a copycat, but for our own manner and style of handling the word of words. At the same time, you can study the writings of other sociologists, anthropologists to find out about main characteristics of their working style. You can critically examine them for their capacity to communicate. Once I was sharing my ideas on writing skill with a group of students when one of them asked me, "But what to write?" Yes, for this we need to have a writing task at hand. As a dissertation, book, article, comment, project report, review, field notes and diaries, etc. Before we begin with writing, we need to develop a proposed outline or table of contents. We should also have in mind the basic story we are going to tell. Also, we should keep in mind the number of pages in which we will be able to tell the story. Field workers know that in a field work carried out for 1 year, a lot of data is collected, including on those areas that were not originally chosen for investigation. This is one of the main differences between the survey research and the intensive field work. In the former, data come only on those topics that are part of the survey, but the latter yields so much of data that the investigator may bring out of that not one, but several texts over a period of time. In the context of a book or article, which in any case will have a focus, the most important thing is to get rid of as much of extraneous data as possible, so that the corpus of data with which we actually deal is manageable, to the point, and illustrates an argument satisfactorily. Whichever data we have been kept out of one text can be used in another. That is why we need to keep in mind the approximate length of each chapter, section, or subsection. We should also remember that the space available in a text for the description of ethnographic details is necessarily limited, because we have also to include in it sections on methods, theory, the review of literature, analysis, interpretation, recommendations and implications, references cited and bibliography. An important piece of advice that the text mentioned earlier on writing up qualitative research gave us is one should try to write every day. On this suggestion, on one of the lectures that I delivered on writing up in a psychology seminar, the comment of a female participant was that it would be difficult for many married women with children and several household chores demanding their urgent attention to keep a particular time reserved for writing every day. Also, in many cases, they may not be able to write every day. In this context, Walcott suggests we should try to sandwich writing in our busy work schedules or unmarked writing days. The point is that we should try to maintain some kind of regularity with respect to writing. In one of the issues of the Rogers Digest, contributor with the name Jeremy Daniel had the following to say: writing a 300-page book is a formidable task. Spinning out 2 pages daily is easy enough. Repeat this process 150 times and you have a book. This principle can be applied to any task. If I write 500 words every day, by the end of the year, I shall have a book to my credit. In one of his interviews mentioned earlier, Greed said that he usually wrote a paragraph a day, but he never left a sentence or paragraph until he was satisfied with it. I was told that the Edmund Leach used to come to his department in the late morning hours after having finished his quota of writing of that day. Walcott writes that when he busied himself writing, his answering machine had the following taped message: "Sorry, Harry is writing. He cannot speak to you now." An asceticism of this type is essential for maintaining writing schedules. If we do not spread out our writing over several days or weeks, then the pressure of finishing it would start mounting up when the deadlines draw closer. To my mind, this is the most critical time, for we may be tempted to plagiarize in order to meet the deadline, or produce a work of extremely inferior quality. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self-Learning Podcast.